Chapter 4 of the Heavens Saga was simply eye-opening. Besides the epic moments of Seiya protecting Athena, we had an important scene between the goddess Artemis and her servant Callisto in the Temple of the Moon, where Artemis not only asks Callisto to protect her sister, Athena, she reveals that they must act so that the plan of the god Apollo goes according to plan. Hello, Knights of Amazon. Welcome to the Sempre Quis Saber channel. I'm Wes, and in today's video we're going to unravel the mysteries about Apollo's true intentions in the Heavens Saga. Did you like the topic? Share your theories in the comments, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into this awesome video. My friends, it seems that relentless punishment from the sun god, Apollo, at the end of Next Dimension, where he ends up completely sealing Athena's powers and erasing the memories of all her knights. Actually, it wasn't out of cruelty, but rather the only viable strategy he found to hide his sister, and to save the Earth from total annihilation caused by the Emperor of the Heavens himself. That's right, my friends. The game has completely changed in the universe of Saint Seiya and the Heavens Saga. Great secrets are being sealed in the new chapters, and little by little, both new enemies and new allies are being revealed. To understand the magnitude of this mystery, we need to recap the final events and important dialogues from Next Dimension. Saori committed the greatest taboo of all when she traveled through time with the help of Kronos, the primordial god of time, to the 18th century. This is the plot of the Next Dimension saga, where Athena was trying to destroy Hades' cursed sword in the past and save Saga's life, to Hades, who was under the curse of the Emperor of the Underworld in the present. But tampering with the timeline caused a catastrophic distortion. The soul of Asclepius, who was the 13th gold saint of the mythological era, ended up escaping from his prison in Tartarus because of this disturbance in space-time. Therefore, he possessed the body of Odysseus, who was the silver saint of the Ophiuchus constellation in the 18th century. This is the same constellation that represented the 13th gold zodiac sign in the mythological era. As we know, the 13th gold saint was the main villain of the Next Dimension saga, but the fact that Athena went back to the past almost destroyed the entire universe. And because of that, Olympus didn't let it slide. In his appearance in the final chapter of Next Dimension, Apollo determined that Athena would be demoted to a servant of the heavens for a period of 1,000 years. The sanctuary would be completely incinerated and the knights would all be exterminated. Athena begs Apollo to punish only her. But he reveals that if Zeus, the sovereign of the heavens, found out about this, that punishment would not be enough. Not only the sanctuary, but the entire surface of the earth would be destroyed. After the arrival of Seiya, who was quickly defeated by Apollo and his angels, Athena makes a proposal to her brother. She gives up her divinity, and with that, she would lose her divine status and live as a mortal. Meanwhile, the sanctuary and the lives of her knights would be spared. Apollo then reveals that if Athena ceases to be a goddess, she would have only a few more decades to live. Saori knows this and agrees with her brother. He then seals Saori's divine powers, as well as sealing her memories and those of her 5 bronze knights who were present there. Thus, they all forgot everything they had experienced. They remembered nothing, not even the power of Cosmo, and so they began to live ordinary lives. Seiya and Shun reveal in Chapter 3 of the Heavens Saga that they woke up in the surroundings of the sanctuary, and they knew nothing more than their own names. Because of this attitude, many thought that Apollo was just a cold executioner of Olympus. But the truth is that both he and Artemis have always shown a hidden concern for Athena. They knew that much worse forces lurked in the shadows of the universe. Since the Next Dimension saga, Artemis has shown moments of concern for her sister Athena. Apollo, on the other hand, has a very firm and rigid attitude. But even so, we notice that he tries to protect Athena, giving her a lighter punishment and sparing the knights' lives in the sanctuary. We know that Athena ends up reuniting with Seiya and Shun in the ruins near the sanctuary, and after she starts to gradually recover her memories during the chapters of this new saga, the new enemies appear. And in the recent Chapter 4 of the Heavens Saga, which begins in an exciting way in the ruins around the sanctuary, we see our protagonist Seiya, who was without memories alongside Shun and Saori. He had just awakened his cosmos and defeated some specters that attacked Saori. For those who don't remember, the cosmos is the essence born from the Big Bang, which resides inside all living beings. And this is the power that the knights use to fight. When the warriors of the underworld appear to attack, It's at this critical moment that the thrilling spiritual interaction of Ayoro of Sagittarius with Seiya's cosmos happens, with Seiya awakening in a moment of danger. As we know, Ayoros is the ultimate symbol of loyalty in this universe. He gave his life 13 years ago to save the baby Athena from the clutches of the corrupted gold-sent Saga of Gemini, who had killed the Grand Master Xion to take his place. Even after his death, Ayoros' spirit has manifested several times, both in the Sagittarius gold cloth and in the sacred testament he himself engraved on the walls of the Sagittarius temple. Thanks to the contact with Ayoros' cosmos, which in the Heaven Saga is manifesting through the sacred testament of Sagittarius, Seiya partially understands the power of the cosmos he has just awakened. Seiya was able to defeat the warriors of the underworld with instinctive moves, and he himself is surprised by his own abilities. He doesn't understand everything, but he feels an uncontrollable instinct to protect Saori Kido. Here we realize that the bond between the soul of the Pegasus Knight and Athena transcends time. While Saori tries to prevent Seiya from fully awakening, to keep him from returning to the eternal cycle of bloody battles, the last enemy appears, the specter of Jean de Urthros. Jean advances to destroy Saori, but Seiya throws himself in front, putting his own life at risk. One of the black arrows shot by Jean ends up injuring Seiya's leg. But even wounded, he refuses to back down, and at the moment the fatal arrow is shot at Seiya, a mysterious power emanating from Saori freezes it in midair. Faced with the overwhelming divine presence of the goddess Athena, the specter is defeated, without even being able to attempt another attack. But the central and truly revealing point of this chapter happens in the Immaculate Temple of the Moon. At the sanctuary governed by Artemis, the goddess of the moon, Callisto, her most important servant and the high commander of the satellites, delivers an urgent and alarming report. This being the army of warriors and archers, Callisto reveals that Hades' army is showing clear signs of returning after Athena's fall, and that the one responsible for these events is none other than Care, the terrible evil goddess of cruel fate and violent death. Callisto also reveals that Care's main current target is the goddess Athena. Upon hearing this, Artemis reacts by breaking her cold demeanor, once again showing immense concern for her sister Athena. As we know, in the final chapter of the Next Dimension saga, the goddess Artemis even cries after Apollo takes away Athena's powers and memories. The goddess of the moon asks Callisto about Saori's condition. Her servant explains that Saori remains human, but her immense cosmo causes incomplete and involuntary divine awakenings more and more frequently. If this process continues, the punishment barrier will break and she will end up fully awakening as a goddess. The news brings panic to the heart of Artemis, who gives a secret order to Callisto. The satellite army must go immediately to Earth to protect Athena from the shadows without anyone noticing. And Callisto is surprised to hear this, but Artemis reveals the truth behind the actions of her brother Apollo. She makes it clear that she doesn't do this just out of love for her sister, but because Apollo's actions, which began at the end of Next Dimension, are part of a strategic plan to prevent new holy wars from happening again on Earth. Right now, my friends, we see Apollo also has good intentions for Athena and the Earth. After all, the end of the holy wars and peace on Earth has been Athena's greatest wish since the mythological eras. Everything indicates that Apollo realized that the constant holy wars that have plagued the Earth for millennia, involving Athena against gods like Hades, Poseidon, and Ares, are the result of hidden manipulation. Someone extremely powerful is acting from the shadows, pitting the deities against each other so that they destroy themselves. Apollo's plan to erase Athena's memories and turn her into an ordinary human was to put her in a kind of disguise. This created a deliberate vulnerability, both for Athena and for the Earth. Without memories and without her active powers, Athena stops emitting the divine energy that protected the planet. With Athena and her knights off the divine board, Apollo would gain time to investigate who truly wished for the end of Athena and her knights. That way, he would be able to find the true enemy god who controls all these events from behind the scenes. Therefore, if Saori fully awakens now, Apollo's entire secret plan will be destroyed. That's because this hidden enemy would retreat again, which would make Apollo's investigation more difficult. Artemis also makes another important revelation in Chapter 4. She says the seeds of war cannot be spread again because if the Emperor of the Heavens finds out what's happening, the entire Earth will be instantly annihilated. Apparently, this Emperor of the Heavens is Zeus, the absolute ruler of Olympus, whose colossal power is capable of pulverizing the entire planet in the blink of an eye if he judges that the divine laws have been violated. However, we don't really know if Zeus is currently in this position. That's because in the mythology of Saint Seiya, it's said that Zeus left the earth under Athena's protection and traveled to the ends of the universe, from where he never returned. Therefore, it could be that someone is replacing Zeus as the emperor of the heavens, and that someone could be the goddess Hera. However, I believe that this is not the final god that Apollo is trying to locate and who has been manipulating the conflicts between the gods and Athena since the Holy Wars. In fact, everything indicates that the great ultimate villain of this final saga is actually Kronos, the primordial god of time. As we know, Athena and her knights have already come into contact with this god in Next Dimension. Kronos is a force much older and more abstract than the gods of Olympus. He is an entity that does not have a physical body and manifests as a gigantic vortex of galaxies. He is one that does not have a physical form and manifests as a gigantic vortex of galaxies. Kronos existed even before the birth of the universe, and despite helping Saori so that she could travel through time, he turned her into a child so that she would be defenseless in the past. Kronos also knew that this time travel would cause a collapse in the universe, which would end up turning Olympus against the goddess Athena and the earth. So, we see that Apollo and Artemis were forced to take measures to punish Athena in the mildest way possible. That's because if another god had been sent to punish the goddess, a much greater and deadlier catastrophe would probably have happened. The witch Bruxicate also has a one-sided conversation with Kronos at the end of Next Dimension. She asks the god of time if things will really be all right now, since Athena and the knights have lost their memories. However, she also realizes that if Kronos hadn't let Athena and her knights travel to the past, none of this would have happened. Therefore, doubts about the actions of the god of time intensify, and perhaps Kronos' likely goal is to make the Olympian gods enter into a total war and destroy each other. With the extinction of Olympus and humanity, Kronos would eliminate the previous timelines to become the great and only absolute god and supreme ruler of the entire universe, rewriting all of history as he wishes. As we know, at the end of Chapter 4 of the Sacred Heaven, Seiya and Shun appear unconscious. After waking up, they realize that the enemies and Saori have disappeared, but both remain curious to understand what was happening there and what the power of that mysterious girl was. The sanctuary will once again be the starting point that changes Shun and Seiya's lives. This is the only place that holds the answers they both need about the hidden powers, both their own and those of the girl they were trying to protect. What will be the true plan of the gods of Olympus that will decide the future of the planet? And who is the real enemy of Athena and humanity in the final saga? These are the biggest questions to be revealed in the upcoming chapters of the Heaven Saga. What are your opinions and theories? Leave a comment to let me know, and thanks for watching until the end. See you next time. Burn your cosmos to infinity.